Chapter 1. Invasion. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when the sky turned gray. At first, we didn't think much of the haze that crept over New York, blotting out the sun. Just some smog, we told ourselves. But then the shapes appeared, huge looming shadows that darkened the city streets. That's when the screaming started. They descended without warning, massive ships with sleek metallic hulls that were bristling with strange weapons. Beams of fiery light shot forth, reducing buildings to rubble. Strange creatures poured out, the Prosenuths, 7 feet tall with gray skin and large oval heads. Their eyes were black and coldly intelligent. The army tried to resist, but their weapons were useless against the superior Prosenuth technology. Washington, D.C. fell in less than a day. The president was taken captive, paraded through the streets by jeering Prosenuth soldiers. They stripped us of our freedom, our culture, even our languages. We were forced to adopt Standard, the common tongue of their interstellar empire. The cities were gutted and rebuilt into utilitarian Prosenuth complexes, all of cold metal and glass. Technology became restricted. No communications equipment was allowed. Entire libraries of books were burned for containing dangerous human propaganda. We became a slave race, doomed to toil under harsh alien overseers. There were 15 years of sullen rage and despair. But the humans adapted and remembered. Stories and secrets were passed down. We bided our time, all the while gathering strength. The revolution was coming. We only had to have patience. Chapter 2. Adapting. The clanging of the alarm jerked me awake long before dawn. As my feet hit the cold concrete floor, I sighed. Another 20-hour shift lay ahead. Just like every other day in this miserable slave camp, the Prosenuth called a titanium mine. 80 years since the invasion, and the alien scum still kept us humans living like rats, crammed into squalid barracks and forced to labor, non-stop in their mines and factories. As we lined up for our meager breakfast ration of processed algae cakes, I overheard some young ones whispering. "I heard the technologies are advancing their plans," one lean teenager murmured. "Big things happening at Sanctuary." My ears pricked up with interest, but I kept my face impassive. The Technologies, one of the shadowy resistance groups that had emerged over the decades, dedicated to studying and reverse engineering Prosenuth science in secret. Their efforts gave me a slender but growing sense of hope. Humans might just have a chance, after all. After mealtime, the overseers herded us onto trucks bound for the mines. I sat in back, lost in thought. Something had shifted recently. The Technologies were growing bolder in their raids on Prosenuth facilities to retrieve data and materials. Labor accidents and manufacturing glitches happened more frequently too, subtle signs of human sabotage. We were adapting, learning, and with knowledge would come the power to fight back. The truck hit a bump, jolting me from my reverie. I stared resolutely ahead. One day we would be free. For now, head down, blend in, and watch for signs the inevitable rebellion was stirring. Chapter 3. Resistance. A thin smile split my dusty face as I watched another load of cogitator cores being loaded into the tunnel. If the Prosenuth only knew what we were really digging for down here, they'd vaporize this whole sector. I picked up my laser drill and resumed boring through the hard bedrock, dumping the rubble into ore cars behind me. Just looked like another back-breaking shift in an ilmenite mine to the guards gliding by on their overhead platforms. But we weren't extracting titanium today. Oh no, this miner had hacked straight into a major Prosenuth data conduit, gaining access codes, network maps, all sorts of juicy secrets that Resistance had desperately needed. "That's the last one," the shift captain called. I breathed a silent prayer of thanks as I sealed up the final piece of purloined Prosenuth tech. 50 years slaving away, watching and learning everything about them, Their language, systems, routines, all so Showtime was executed perfectly. Tomorrow, the databanks would light up with our traps and worms and viruses, carefully coded, using their own system against them. Their comm networks would crash, production lines stall, reactors melt down, robots run amok. My pulse raced, just imagining those gray-skinned bastards in big shock, when their so-called slaves finally bite back. We scraped the last bit of rock over our illegal stash and slogged to the lifts with the others. No matter what happened topside tomorrow, down here we'd struck a hard blow for freedom. And with Sanctuary churning out more awakened humans and weapons every day now, this was just the first salvo. Our planet would be ours again, no matter what it cost. Chapter 4: Uprising. The nervous whispers in the barracks told me everything I needed to know. Today was the day, the one we had worked towards for 8 bitter decades. I had to pause a moment to still the trembling in my hands before rushing out into the electric dawn. The sky boiled an ominous green over Manhattan Prime. Goots of flame and black smoke mushroomed up where android troops had begun marching on. The provisional human government based out of the old public library. The fear in the overseers. Voices crackled clearly over their comm channels, piped through our hacked network. Panicked reports of disasters came in from all sectors. Bases destroyed, spaceports ravaged, supply lines burned. Sure enough, a nimble line of humans armed with arc weapons and gear, grafted from robotic chassis, were harassing the local patrols. But they were merely the decoys. The technologies had retrofitted a dozen transport shuttles out near Sanctuary with modified plasma drives and shielding to punch through the blockade fleet guarding this sector. Even now, those reappropriated ships would be hurtling back heavy with strike teams and setting down by the millions right atop the alien administrators. Checkmate at long last. A sturdy militiaman tossed me a Mark VI arc rifle hot from the fabricators. "Get to your squad, comrade. We need all troops to push the advantage before they rally. It's time to take back our planet." As I raced off towards command, the broken gray spires of Midtown vanishing behind me, I gazed up at the smoke-stained sky and smiled. The stars would shine down on human cities again after tonight, and we would be the masters of our own destiny once more. Chapter 5: Peace for Now. Unidentified vessels, you are violating sovereign Prozenuthian space. Power down your weapon systems and surrender or face retaliation. The threat boomed from the alien destroyer looming large off our bow. For endless heartbeats, the human fleet bridge was silent, all eyes fixed on Admiral Halsey. Then a smile crinkled the leathery corners of her eyes. "Are they still blathering warnings? Thought I told you to shut that garbage down," she sniffed nonchalantly. "Tactical. Target their communications array and engines only. Disable and board. Let's see if that changes their tone." A cheer resounded through the bridge as a volley of plasma fire darted from our smoking gun ports, slicing into alien hull metal. Marines poured into assault boats even as the destroyer spoiled all power. "And get Ambassador Zhao prepped to shuttle over soon as the captain surrenders. We have terms to dictate to these gray bastards." Halsey's smile turned wolfish as the last internal fires guttered out through the wrecked Prozenuthian hull. It had been a long, hard fight this last year since the uprising. Formidable as they remained, humanity had reached technological parity with our former masters in several key weapon systems, and our hardened hearts thirsted payback for the cruelty endured under their occupation. Their so-called relief fleet arrived to find dozens of liberated colony worlds armed with scavenged ion cannons and photon torpedoes. It was a short yet brutal conflict, but at last Earth stood triumphant over another humbled alien armada. As the highest-ranking Prozenuth prisoner knelt in surrender aboard the Victory, our remaining ships trained guns on their distant home world, I knew we would have justice. The stars once more shone down on human cities and human destiny alone, never to dim again. Weeks after our victory, news from our newly formed human government came from intercepted deep space Prozenuth transmissions. The Empire has decided the cost to retake Earth was not a viable option. With the amount of equipment they had lost and we had commandeered into our newly formed military, along with any other unknown armaments we humans may possess, it would take too many of their military forces from other sectors they control. We humans liberated ourselves, but in doing so, the Prozenuth have tightened their grip on the sectors they still control. 80 years ago, our planet had a population of nearly 9 billion people. Now our population is just over 1 billion. Not a small number, but still, it is only a fraction of what we were, and it is a roadmap to what we will be again. A year after our victory, no other alien races have come near the Earth. Cities were quickly being rebuilt throughout the Earth. Our military strength has grown dramatically in just 12 short months. Soon, newly designed human military spacecrafts will be launched to protect our region of space, our solar system. From now on, those who travel amongst the stars will come to know that this is the Sol system, where those beings who value freedom above everything else reside in, the species that have and will endure, the humans.